Welcome along to the second video in our series where we're learning how to work with pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. In the first video we had a crack at our first pivot table. Here it is here, quite a simple one that looked at the number of fatalities per year on Australian roads. So we drilled down into our data, we created a chart about it, had a look at some of the trends we could see there, and then worked out the average number of deaths as well with a simple function. Okay, we're going to have a look back here at the original raw data, and we're going to create ourselves a second pivot table now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just click anywhere inside the table, go up to the Insert tab at the top, and create a pivot table. You don't need to change anything here, just click on OK, and a new tab will appear at the bottom of the page called Sheet 2, and this is where we're going to create our second pivot table. So let's go across to our question sheet here and have a look at what we need to do for pivot table number 2. It says we need to create a pivot table that counts the number of fatalities by gender. Okay, we can do that. So over here, once we are on our new tab here, we can create a pivot table. We are looking at our gender this time. So let's go down through the fields here and look for gender. There it is, put a tick there. And I'm going to leave that in the rows section because I do want the male and female down the side here. We've also got a few other things here, unspecified and blank. Let's get rid of them. We don't want to count them. So let's just do, so you hit that little drop down box next to row labels and just uncheck unspecified and blank. We don't want them. We just want the ones where they're specified, male and female. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is just do a count of how many males there were and how many females there were that passed away on Australian roads. So what I'm going to do is grab that gender from here and drag it down into values over here on the bottom right. Okay, and that does a count of the gender, and if you look back up here in our table, I'll zoom in a little bit here, you can see now that we have got our male and female count. So about 15,002 females have died and 37,813 males. So straight away I can see that the males are not the best drivers on Australian roads. Okay, let's go back to the question sheet because we've done the first question already. And it says we need to drill down into this data even further by displaying the number of fatalities for each age group. Okay, we can do that. So let's head back over to Excel. In our pivot table here, what we can do is look through our fields here for the one that says age group. Here it is down the bottom here. And just check that box. And that will add it into the rows over here. And I'm going to actually leave it where it is. So what it's done now has shown me the different age groups where females have died on Australian roads and the different males. Okay, again I can see the word blank there. Let's see if we can hit this little filter button and get rid of blank. We don't want the blanks. Okay, we just want the ones that have specified their age group. Okay, so now we can see males and females very clearly, not exactly how old they were, but the age groups they were in when they died on the Australian roads. Okay, so let's drill down nicely into the data for us. So let's tick off question number 2. Number 3 says we need to create a bar chart that displays this data. We're going to colour the male data bars blue and the female pink. This can be a little bit of a tedious process because I don't know a quicker way, but what we'll do is we'll highlight, actually I only want to highlight this data here, so just the numbers from 0 to 16 to 75 or older. And I'm going to hold control and do the same down the bottom. I don't need the totals, the male or female there. Hopefully I've got it selected right. I'm going to go up to the Insert tab at the top. And it was a bar chart we were chasing. So click on where we've got the column chart here and you can go down to the bar charts. And just click on that first one. Okay, now it's all come out the same colour. What we need to do is change the males at the top section there to blue, which actually it already is pretty much blue, so let's just leave it. But the females down the bottom will change to pink. Now this is where I don't know a quicker way to do it other than double clicking on the first one here where it says 75 or older. Double click on that little data bar and come across here to your formatting options and choose the first one, which is your fill bucket. Choose fill and choose a solid fill. And that solid fill is going to be just a pinky kind of colour. Go down to the next data bar, just click on it once and choose solid fill. And just keep doing that all the way down. Just click on the data bar and choose solid fill from your options over here. And that should colour the girls in that pinky kind of color. I don't know a quicker way to do that, so a little bit time consuming, but not too bad. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is tidy up this chart. We don't need this legend down the right hand side, so just press delete on that. Okay, that makes things look a little bit clearer. You can probably get rid of this little button at the top here, the count of gender. So just right click on it, say hide value field buttons on chart. That gets rid of that. You can get rid of these buttons too if you want. You can actually click on, they filter the chart down if you want. This is called a pivot chart now, and you can actually just select females if you want and uncheck the males and click OK. And that changes your chart just to show me the females. Now I could go back and check males there and click OK, and that puts the males back in. You can even narrow it down by age groups as well. Okay, so if we just want maybe 17 to 25, click OK. And that will narrow it down, so you can compare side by side how many males and females in a particular age group have died on the Australian roads quite quickly and easily by using your filters here. I'll put them all back on there except the blank one. And there we go. So I might leave those little filters there because they are handy. But everything else looks pretty good. I think we need to give it a better looking title. So let's just say, we'll leave total there. All right, total number of fatalities by gender. Put in Australian roads there as well if you wanted to, but I haven't got much room, so I might just leave it at that. Okay, so that's our bar chart that separates the male and female fatalities, and you can see quite convincingly there that the males seem to have a lot more deaths on the Australian roads. Okay, so we can tick off number 3, and that is done. And we'll kind of just answered number 4. What trends are evident from looking at this data? Let's write that in underneath. So, what did I say before? That males are much more likely, oops, get my spelling right, to die on Australian roads and compared to females. You could go in a little more detail than that, I think, and talk about a bit more. So you could maybe tell me which specific age group of males tend to die on Australian roads more than others. You could talk about the safest drivers if you wanted to. Okay, so the 65 to 74 year old females seem to be our safest drivers. 0 to 16, they're not even driving at that age, so we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, you could probably write another 1 or 2 sentences there telling me about some more trends in that data. But the one that sticks out to me most is that males are much more likely to die than the females. Okay, and number 5 here just says use a formula to determine the difference between the number of male and female fatalities. Okay, so let's just do it here. We'll just write difference between genders, and on the next line I'm going to write equals, and it's very simply going to the males here and clicking on the total of males that have died and subtracting the number of females that have died there. Press enter and you should get something like 22,786. So that's quite a big number. So that many more males have died on the roads. So I might write that. Died on the Okay, so 22,786 more males have died on Australian roads when compared to females. Okay, not a good statistic at all for the males. Alright, so that has our second pivot chart and pivot table all done and dusted, I believe. Let's just double check. Yeah, it is. So I will stop the video here in just a sec, and I will come back in the third one and we'll do our next pivot table. See you soon.